Training is one of the main things that sets SomaEnergetics apart. The trainings have been life-changing for a lot of people. They get done with the training and they're like, all the different fragments of my life just kind of came together in this weekend. Between the time they arrive and the time they leave, it's a lot more than what they expected. They arrive expecting one thing, and by the time they're done through the weekend, they're like, I had no idea. And what's kept us going all these years is then the feedback. My clients are just blown away by what this is doing for them and how it's opening up their energy and allowing them to make changes in life and all that stuff. So one of the tunings that I can think of that resonates is David did a tuning on a person, and she then called a few weeks later, and she was on her way to Sedona, Arizona, because she finally felt like she had the energy to make the changes in her life she wanted to make. And it was all kind of very coincidental. She just started cleaning out closets and cleaning out her house and making room. And then a neighbor came by and said, I've always loved your house, can I buy it? Oh, sure. And then she's on her way to Sedona with a U-Haul, and all because of the energy that was created by the tuning. So those kind of stories of people changing people's lives is what kind of kept it going for 20 years.
The philosophy behind SomaEnergetics is that we are more than what we see of ourselves. When we have filters of our five senses, we see ourselves as bodies. But really, we're finding out we're much more than our bodies, that we are energy. And we're not just energy, but we're an energy field. So I began to realize through my studies that most of everything that happens to the body is an effect that comes from the energy. So I thought, why are we not working in the energy, which is cause? That should be the building block, the cornerstone of healing work. So instead of trying to fix the body because it's broken, which is a very Western medical idea, that if something hurts, then it needs to be fixed at the body level. Why I believe people aren't healing is because we're not changing the energy pattern that becomes the physical body. Now, a lot of people believe that we're physical bodies and then we have energy. I say we have energy and then we're a physical body. I wanted to see, how can I access that energy field? First of all, intention. Everything comes from an intention. So it came to me that everything starts out that becomes physical or matter is vibration. Energy is not an isolated thing, but it's everywhere. And I kind of use the illustration of a fish that is swimming around in the ocean that doesn't know it's in the water. So it's looking for the water. And then a little fish comes along and says, but you're in the water, it's everywhere. And that's what happened to me when I first heard the statement, everything is energy. I thought we live in a cosmic sea of energy and possibility. And so I thought, how can I get people connected to universal supply of energy? We call that God. You can call it many things, source, whatever, but it's an inexhaustible source and field of energy. And I thought, how can I get people connected to that? Now, with my theological background and coming from the book of Genesis that said in the beginning, God moved across the face of the deep, and that always fascinated me. What God and what's it moving? What does that mean? I began to look deep into the Hebrew meaning. I found some interesting definitions of it, and one of them was God fluttered. I thought, flutter. Then I went to a deeper, and it said, and God vibrated. And I thought, all universe that we can see started from vibrating energy into manifestation. So how could I help people use frequency and vibration to manifest what they need? But I'm telling you, manifesting a healing or prosperity or anything doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of the field. That's the why. The why is to help people to have access to energy beyond their survival level. My idea of wholeness comes from the idea of believing in a creator. Sometimes I can't always identify. I just know there's a creator. I know there's an intelligence. And I believe that that intelligence is whole of itself. It is the entirety of itself. And why would it create something lesser than itself? So that meant what it created is also whole. Before we see ourselves as physical, mental, emotional, and all these things, we have to be spirit as our creative spirit. Therefore, we're of the same spirit. Some people talk about the human spirit and the divine spirit. One spirit, and that spirit is whole. This comes from my spiritual side of faith, I guess. But I decided to start telling people and teaching people, when you're working with a client that appears broken, they're in pain, they've got a disease or something else, that I want you to heal your mind first before you work on them. And you want to heal your mind of error thinking. That's what we call sin thinking. It's not thinking in alignment with reality or with truth. And that's a line from A Course in Miracles, by the way, for those who know about Course in Miracles. But the healing of my mind is the healing of my brother. And it says that because we're all connected energetically, we all share consciousness as one. I begin to tell people that you need to see them differently. Don't see them as they appear to be, but see them whole. So instead of working with what's wrong with them, let's work with the wholeness of them. And the way we have to do that is we have to remove the blockages between where they are whole from a spiritual point and see how it can get down to where they live. So I began to study all that kind of thing about the different subtle bodies, like the etheric body and the astral body and all these bodies that are around us, because there's about 7 bodies altogether energetically around us. What we do as practitioners is we assist and facilitate, not heal, but we facilitate by removing the blockages due to many things. If you're a person who believes in karma, you got that story. That means there's some unresolved issues through your karmic story. You have your genetic story, all that stuff you inherited that's trying to show up in you as genetic potential. You have your own story of where you have run from not resolving emotional issues, running away from a relationship, running away from something that was not resolved, becomes mis-patternings in your etheric energy body. So by the time that wholeness that you are gets down here and reads the wrong thing that it's not, then it becomes inferior to itself. And I tell you what's cool about that is when that happens, you've created an etheric blueprint for cellular development. A lot of people don't understand. Let's say you're 50 years old, 60 years old or whatever, and you think that's the same body you've had all these years. That's not true. We know every 7 years you get a whole complete body. I heard Deepak Chopra say one time that the liver's every 6 weeks, and that was interesting to me. I thought if somebody had cancer of the liver and they got a new liver every 6 weeks, why would they still have cancer? And it became clear because they didn't change the blueprint. The blueprint that caused the cancer is the same blueprint, so the cells keep reading a blueprint that hasn't been changed. We're looking for those blockages and mis-patternings that's in that energy body, so that when we call it the ketheric body, which is your memory of wholeness as you were created, gets there, it doesn't read something that's inferior to itself. And this is why we have inferior bodies, by the way. I don't believe that this creator that I'm talking about that's whole created an unwhole body. We do that. Your mom and dad, their mom and dad. Bodies make bodies. And they pass down all of their stuff, all their myisms, all the stuff in the DNA that's going to end up as a possibility toward an illness or sickness or something like that is all passed down from bodies to bodies. But I do believe that we can change that by changing the blueprint. Just right now, while I'm sitting here talking about tens of thousands, if not millions of cells are dying and recreating. Now, where's those new cells coming from? They're coming from the etheric blueprint. If that blueprint is not in alignment with the wholeness of us, then it reads we're not whole, and therefore the body becomes not whole. And I want to change that. There's so many wonderful teachings out there in natural healing and alternative healing and new age and new thought, all that. But everybody wants to keep it inside. It's within. God's within. The kingdom is within. But I tell you, what's within won't come out. Your body should not end up a prison for your wholeness. Wholeness needs to come out and make it all the way to the cellular level. And that's what we can do. Through this kind of training that's being offered this way, we can, through intuition, through teaching, through experience, through passion, change that blueprint so that cells will read a different blueprint and start replicating at a different frequency that would raise our body. Could this be resurrection?